Hello. So today on this lovely Monday, we're going to be talking about myths and stars. So let me present. So a myth is a story, right? For thousands of years, different cultures have created stories to explain things that they couldn't understand. These are called myths. This included pictures that they made from the stars. A myth is a traditional story that often includes a powerful main character, think gods, heroes, monsters, and villains, who has the power to make extraordinary things happen. These stories are used to teach lessons and to explain how natural phenomena like storms happened, right? So now we know the science behind, but before we changed it. All right, so I'm just going to quickly go with this, right? They explain natural phenomena, they explain the origins of fire, earth, and evil, and then you talk about how gods and goddesses, heroes, and monsters and their interactions with humans. So we're mixing it up and going right to YouTube.
I absolutely love teaching.
An important thing about myths is that the authors are unknown, but there are things like how did the leopards get their spots? There's different types of myths, which include creation myths, which is how, things were created, how the earth or people came to be. There's natural myths, which is how things in nature exist. And then there's heroes that describe the quest or the journey of a hero or heroine. And then there's Greek and Roman myths. The purpose of myths are just to explain something, how it became to be, and to teach a lesson. They're often intertwined. They also sometimes explain historical events, and they tell us a lot about ancient civilizations because it tells us about hopes and feelings of a time. And myths often include the following characteristics: gods and goddesses who interact with humans, gods and goddesses in disguise, and then they reflect the culture that was created. So whatever the culture values, it shows what the myth is about. And they use magic and supernatural. And there is a great big change. With that in mind, we're going to read a myth. Is this going to let me go? All right, so myths and stars are related. Ancient people used constellations, the images in stars, to help them tell different stories about myths. So this included the Greeks, the Romans, the Mesopotamians, and Native American tribes. So when they looked up in the sky, they connected these different stars together and they saw pictures, right? So this one, Ursa Major, that's a bear, Draco is a dragon. They use these pictures and their imagination to explain what's happening in the world. So we are going to be reading a few myths and then filling out a chart today. And later this week, you're going to be creating your own constellation. So pay attention to patterns you see in these constellations. So we're going to hear a story about Taurus. So Taurus is the bull. So we can kind of see the bull's horns. Is it going to work? Yes, it is. So we're seeing the picture come together.
Latin for bull, and one of the constellations of the zodiac, located between Aries to the west and Gemini to the east. It's time to learn about one of the constellations in the night sky. Do you recognize this constellation? It's Taurus. One of the constellations of the zodiac, located between Aries to the west and Gemini to the east. Taurus is best viewed in December and January in the northern hemisphere. Its name is Latin for bull, and it is one of the oldest known constellations, recognized at least as far back as the early Bronze Age. Some archaeologists even believe that the constellation Taurus was depicted in the cave paintings at Lascaux in France.
So this is a story that's existed for a really long
Many
time.
cultures called this constellation a bull, including the ancient Sumerians, Assyrians, Babylonians, Egyptians, Greeks, and Romans. In ancient Mesopotamian astronomy, Taurus was called the Bull of Heaven.
We're going to focus on this one, the Bull of Heaven.
Gilgamesh tells how the goddess Ishtar convinces her father to send the Bull of Heaven to kill Gilgamesh for insulting her. Gilgamesh and his friend, Enkidu, kill the bull instead, cutting out its heart and then tearing off its thigh. Some say this is why only the front half of the bull is visible in the sky.
So look, you can even see it.
If you're trying to find Taurus, look beside the constellation of Orion, which represents the hero Gilgamesh, facing the Bull of Heaven in combat. Taurus glares at him with a menacing, bloodshot eye. The red giant Aldebaran, the brightest star in the constellation. In the bull's shoulder, you can find the Pleiades,
which is just
star cluster
another
recognized by
constellation.
stargazers for thousands of years.
So the Pleiades are another constellation that we're not going to talk about, but we want to talk about this example of this myth of Gilgamesh, right? So if I go into my next slide, this is what you're going to be reading. You're going to, the constellation named Taurus, where's it from? It's Greek and it's Mesopotamian, right? So that's where Gilgamesh is from. The myth summary, the princess had her father send the Bull of Heaven to kill Gilgamesh. But he won. But he defeated the bull. All right, and then the main character was Gilgamesh and the Bull of Heaven, or Taurus. All right, now when it comes to lesson, I want us to be clear. It could be either the lesson, how was something created, or the moral of the story. So the moral of this story, right, it wasn't like, slow and steady wins the race. It was kind of like, don't hurt people, because if the princess hadn't sent him to be killed, then the bull would have been fine. So we can write, don't hurt people. But another lesson we learn is, Gilgamesh is the reason we only see part of the bull. Because that's also a thing that they were trying to explain. They're like, why do we only see half of the bull in this picture? Because that was something that was a big deal to the ancient Mesopotamians. I am going to copy and paste my work right now into your document, which is like this. So you're going to be filling out the same document. You're going to read a bunch of different myths. So you're going to read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 myths, and you're going to pick your favorite 3. And then you're going to fill out this chart for all 3. Just to be clear, right? Constellation name, it's always on the top. Where is it from? A quick summary, a sentence summary. Who is the main character and what's the lesson? So the lesson is either the moral or what we learn about nature. Then you're just going to answer these 3 quick questions. What are some things that these myths have in common? Why do you think people have myths? And brainstorm, if you created your own constellation, what would your major character be like? If you guys have any questions, you can ask whoever is with you, or you can send me off an email and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. But just take the time and fill out the chart and you'll be good to go. Okay, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.